Hello all. So I think everyone can see us. Maybe you can leave in comments if you are able to see us. Yeah, let's wait a couple of minutes for people to join. Santosh.
Yeah. Just a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, there was some background
Yeah,
noise.
sure. I can see two people join.
Okay.
So yeah, so we can start it. So yeah, everyone may know about Santosh Yadav. He is a Google developer expert in Angular, as well open source contributor in a lot of projects as well. And also he is a writer in Indeptive, and also I wish to share one incident with I had with Santosh Yadav. So I think 1.5 year back I am new to Angular, so and I just love that framework, and I thought of have any certifications to do in Angular. So I came out with the GDU word, sure. So and also I came up with the profile Santosh Yadav in Twitter. So I just ping them with the simple questions. How do you become a sorry, how do you become a GD in Angular? So it's yeah, I didn't browsed in a net. It's maybe silliest questions, and I asked him, and he didn't hesitate to answer me. So he replied me back in midnight, I think. So he guided me how you can contribute to open source, and you have to speak in meetups, small meetups, and also you have to speak in on large conferences. So he's a really genuine guy out there. So you can ask any simple questions to Santosh Yadav. Yeah, and yeah, great to have you, Santosh, in this. And over to you.
Thank you, Arun. Okay, let me just share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Share. Let me know once you can see it.
Yeah, yeah, I
Ah,
can see you.
of course. Let me just remove. Okay. Hey everyone. Thanks for joining us on Saturday evening. So in this session, it will be like more of hands-on session. We are going to discuss about Angular router and cards, and we'll see how you can configure routing from, and then how you can use router service and how you can use activated route service in Angular. And there are some prerequisites, okay, but you don't have to worry about it in case you want to learn Angular router. So to give you idea about myself, my name is Santosh Yadav, and I'm one of the Google developer expert for Angular, and I also write for indep.dev, and I'm also a mentor for .NET Tricks. In case you want to write on indep.dev, you can always connect with me on my social media handle, which is given below. So you can just find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or you can also see my profile on GitHub. I have a bunch of open source projects there. You can always send me a DM with your draft article, and we can actually review it. And if everything works, we'll be invite you to indep.dev Slack channel, and then you can start writing for indep.dev. And I also have a YouTube channel where I interview people from the tech. So it's named as Tech Talks with Santosh, where we do 3 interviews per month right now, and we are planning to expand it to I mean, one stream per week, maybe in future. So that's about me. And as I said, there are some prerequisites. So you have to have simple idea about, or some idea about Angular templates, how it works, I mean property binding, your interpolation, and you should have idea about Angular component, how to create Angular component. And I think that's more than enough for this particular session. What I have done is I have also already created one small application. So the application looks like this right now. So there is nothing. I have just created a new application using ng-new, and I have did ng-serve to start this application. Now we will implement the routing functionality, and apart from that, I added few more components. So I have 3 components: dashboard, employee, and products. They are not visible because we don't have router configured as of now. Also, I have used Angular material as for styling. So you will be able to see once you will be able to see some Angular material styling once we activate those components via routing. So let's go ahead and get started. So first thing is, of course, how to set up a router and why router, right? So once you start creating your enterprise application, you will have a scenario where you may want to actually navigate between multiple pages. So let me just give you a small example. For example, here, so I can go to features, I can go to docs, and then I can, within docs, I can just go ahead and click on any of the routes, right? And it works. So this is how your entire route functionality is. So this is what you will be able to achieve using Angular router. And Angular comes with router package by default, so you don't have to actually install anything other than just creating an Angular application. It's not like it's a third party library which you have to install and then you have to configure. That's nothing like that. So once you do ng-new your application, you will see a command prompt which says, okay, do you want to add Angular router? And once you say yes, this is something which you get. So you get a file called app-routing-module.ts where we can actually configure our routes. So let's go ahead and do that first. So we'll configure some routes. So we will display some components which from dashboard, employee, or products on my screen. Right now we don't have that. So let's go ahead and start configuring the routes. So to start, or to configure a router, you have to use this particular for route module, right? So you can see which is available here as well. You have this routes array, which is empty right now because we don't have any single router configured right now, and we will do that in future. So let's see how to do the configuration. So configuring a router is simple. So you already have all the files and all code available here. So you have to configure it like this. So you have to give a path. So this is something called friendly URLs. In case you are coming from a .NET or Java background and you have worked on APIs, you know about friendly URLs, right? So let's say I want to trigger this products component. So I'll my friendly URL name is, let's say, products, and then I will say, okay, in case I trigger this particular path, which component should be rendered? So this is component, and I will say, okay, this should be product component. And let's go ahead and see that. So I have created my first route, and let's go to the UI, and here I'll just mention slash products. Is it product or products? Okay. Okay, so you can see right now it's not working. There is a reason behind it. So one very important thing to understand is whenever you are using router, you have to place a HTML tag which is known as router outlet. Okay, so you have to always place this router outlet, otherwise your routing will not work. And now you can see as soon as I did that, I made this router outlet available. You can see there is the URL or the route is triggered, and now we have the data. So this data is actually coming from the products component, and it is created using a material schematic. Let me just show you quickly how you can actually create a material schematics or use Angular material schematics. So here we have schematic available for table, and this is how you can do that. So I can just say ng generate Angular material table and then your component name. That's what I did. So the component name is right now products, and so you can see this product component is displayed. So how it works? So let's go ahead and see how it works. Why that particular router outlet was required? Otherwise, it will never work. So the way it works is, once you trigger a URL, right? So this particular app routing module will be called, and it will go ahead and find if this particular URL exists in this configuration. So it says, okay, this product's particular component is available, and route is also available, and it will try to trigger this particular component. But it will also check one more thing. It will check if you have this router outlet available or not. So if it finds that this particular router outlet is available, it will append the component which you have mentioned here. So it will go ahead and append this particular component after this router outlet. If this is not available, of course, forget about your component being rendered. So this is something a lot of newcomer or the developers who start Angular, they often miss router outlet. It's okay. I mean, even after like coding for 3 years, I still miss that. So nothing to worry about. So just remember, outer outlet is mandatory. Okay, so this is how you can configure one particular route. But here, of course, we cannot ask our users to actually go ahead and mention these routes, right? So we will not ask, okay, just go ahead and say localhost 4200/employee, and you will get the employee URL, which we don't have right now, but we will configure it. So what we need is we need a navigation or a menu, right? So I'll quickly use the Angular schematics to create an Angular material navigation. So there is a navigation schematics which is available, which I often use whenever I have to give some demo. So I'll just add it, and I'll call it as main nav. It's like your main navigation bar component. And once this is available, you will find, okay, there is something href which is available here, and we can replace this. Now I'll just mention href equals to, we have products, right? So I'll just say products, and this is product, and we will render this component. So right now, what I will do is an app component.html. I'll, rather than using router outlet, I will use main navigation bar, and this router outlet will move to here. So you can see once you create this Angular material navigation bar, you will have something called add content here, and this is where you can actually place your router outlet. This is your container. So if you know about the basics of your like creating a web page, you have your navigation bar, you have header, footer, and this area is actually your content section. So if I click on this product, this thing, everything should be rendered here. So right now we have href product. So let's see if I can go ahead and do that. So you can see once I clicked on these products, you have the product component available here. And but there is a catch. So if I click on it, there is a refresh. There's a page refresh. You can see there is a page refresh which is happening because we are using href. In Angular, you should always use something known as router link. So router link is a property which is available, or sorry, it's a directive which is available, which is used to handle the navigation. So if I click on product now, you might have noticed there that there is no page refresh, right? So it's like smooth, similar to what we saw maybe on Angular material uh, pro- page as well. So if you click, there is no page refresh, right? So because this is an SPA, a single page application, so we always have a single index.html, and we are navigating between multiple pages. So this is what your, this is how you actually can configure your simple routes. So let's go ahead and add more. So we have seen the simple configuration. So but as soon as your application grows, right? So your application bundle size also grows, because let's say you have 10 different URLs, let's say same as this Angular, right? So you have multiple URLs which is available here, and if I try to include the entire application in a single build, my application size will be like huge. And remember, in single page applications, entire JS or the final build which happens is actually transferred to your users. What I mean by user is, let's say I'm trying to access this particular page right now. So let's go ahead and inspect. Let's go to sources, and let's go to network, and let's do a page refresh here. So you can see all the JS, all the styling, everything is actually transferred to me. And this is around 6.1 MB, which is like right now I am in development mode, so I'm in not in production mode. So this is 6.1 MB right now, but in production mode the size will be less, maybe in some KBs. And in when you are working in web, every KB matters, remember that. So even a KB, single KB, can actually impact your performance, because everyone has a different network speed, right? So there are a few areas where we still we don't have 4G available. There are people who are still using 512 kbps, or maybe below 1 MB of speed. That's possible. So and you may have to actually target the users who lives in any area. Doesn't matter how bad the internet speed is. So what you can do is you can always split your application into smaller chunks using the concept named as lazy loading. So what we will do is we will configure the next route as lazy loaded route. So the first thing which you should do is, first you have to create a module, Angular module. So I'll create a module for employee. So I'll say ng, and I'll say m, and I'll say employee. I'll keep the same name as the employee. So it will go to this particular folder and it will create a module. You can see this. And I also need the routing configuration available inside employee. So I'll just use hyphen routing, as I have already created the employee module. It will not allow me to actually create it right now. It will throw an exception, this file exists. So I'll use another flag called force, which will actually delete this file and create a new one. So now if you see this app routing module and app module, similarly we have employee module and employee routing module. And now to configure the lazy loaded route, what I will do is I will go to this routing configuration. The first thing which you have to do is I have to remove this employee component which is registered in app module. So let's see this. Yep, this is here, employee component. I'll delete it, and from the declarations array as well, I'll remove this. And now here the configuration will be a little bit different. So first we have to configure something here. So here we will configure, so we'll say path is blank, and once this path is triggered, go ahead and give me employee component. Just copy this employee component. Cool. So we have this available employee component, and let me just import it. Maybe there is some problem with auto import. So I'll / employee component, and this is from where we will import the employee component, and this is it. So we have now our routing configured for our lazy loaded modules, lazy loaded module, not modules. And here I'll say path. So here this will be your friendly path, so for our friendly URL. So I'll say okay, this is employee, And then rather than using component, now because we are not loading a component, we are loading a module, we have to use something known as load children property. And here we will be using the native import which is available to actually download a separate chunk. And here we will give the path to our employee module. Remember that. So employee slash employee module. So a lot of time actually I make a mistake. So I'm just telling you because this is something which you might do. So I sometime by mistake I import employee hyphen routing dot module, and things don't work. So just to give an idea, I mean, so here I'll say then it's like your uh, promise. So I'll say, okay, this will load the employee module. Let me just format it a little bit. Okay, so now we have a second route configured, which is employee. So it will be path localhost 4200 slash employee. And now once we trigger the employee, it will actually have its own chunks. So it will have its own JavaScript file. Let me show you here, then I'll show you on the UI. So here you can see, okay, so now as we have configured its own module, we have to add some imports here, which is related to Angular material. So let me just see what are those. So we have mat radio button, we have mat select, mat form field. Okay, I'll just configure all this module which is needed. So I'll say I need reactive forms module. I'll say add mat uh, form field module, and then I need mat select module. I need mat what was it? Card mat card module. So these are all module which I need to import to make it work. So let's see. Yeah, all the errors are gone. Okay, there are still few left. Which are those? Mat card actions, mat radio button module. So let's see. Mat radio. Okay, let's see which one is this. Mat button module and mat radio module. Okay, mat radio module, and I also need mat button module. It looks like all the errors are gone, but let's verify. And we'll refresh this page. So let's make sure that it works. Okay, there is one error left. What is this? Mad card, mat radio button. Okay, let me just stop this server and run it again. Maybe it is taking something out of from the cache. So nothing to worry about. I have added all the imports. It should work now. Mat card is added twice. Okay, and I'm not sure where I added mat radio module. Okay, now looks yeah, now it is compiled. So I was missing mat radio module somehow. So let's go ahead and configure. Oh my god, what is this? Employee mat button, mat radio. Maybe I'm missing something. Okay, I'm also missing mat select module. Mat form field is there. Reactive form, mat form, mat. Okay, mat input module. And let's see, the errors should be gone now. Maybe it is something, it is taking something out of cache. So let's do that. Let's try to build it again. Mat select, mat form field, mat card button. Okay, looks, and mat radio button, mat button module, mat radio button module. Oh shit. Okay, so I missed employee component here, so that's my fault. I have to actually give employee component here because it is not registered anywhere else. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so my application is working now. It was just the component was not registered, so I missed doing that. And then I was trying to trigger that particular component using this particular route. So you can see now I'll add this particular route. So here I'll use another router outlet. Here I'll say this is employee, and this is employee. Okay, so now we have two URLs available, products, and you can see employee. So now if I click on both of them, both the URL works. But this is not what we wanted to do, right? So we wanted to split our application into smaller chunks, and let's see how we did that. So we used the load children property. Remember that? Now I can go to sources, and here I'll go to not sources. I'll go to network, right? And I'll just click on JS file, and let me refresh this page. So now product URL is loaded. I'll clear everything. Click on employee. Now you can see a separate employee bundle is loaded. So employee.employee.module.js, which is around 201 bytes, which is of course a really small bundle, right? But as I said, for even a KB matters on your web. So what we are doing is we are splitting your entire Angular application into smaller chunks, and this is what we did. So now whenever a user requests for slash employee, it will be like a separate module which will be downloaded, or the JS file is a separate chunk or separate JS file which will be loaded once it is requested, and it won't be available by default. So what you are doing is you are delaying the loading of some JavaScript code which you think should not be required as of now, but maybe user may need in future. So he can just, the user can just click here and then he can download the URLs, right? So this is how it works. So now this is lazy loading. Now let's move to the next topic. So I'll go to activated route. So activated route is something which is related to data. So in case you have some data which is available in your route configuration and you want to read that particular data, you should always go ahead and rely on the activated route service. So what can be passed? So of course you can pass query parameters, you can pass fragments, anything, right? So here we also have something known as data property. So I'll try to use that. I'll pass some data. So I'll pass some static data, let's say title, right? So I'll say title is products or product list. So this is data which I'm passing right now, and I want to access this particular data in products component. So what I can do is I can just go to products component. I'll go to product component.ts here, and right now the constructor is not available here, so I'll just go to constructor and I will inject the activated route service. I'll say this is private, and this is your so I'll call it as router. So this is your variable name, and then this variable name will be type of activated route, and this is it. So now you have injected your activated route service, and then now I can go ahead and access the data which is available in my router. So I'll do that here. So I'll say this dot router dot data dot. So you can subscribe. You can say, okay, I'm subscribing to the entire data which is available here, and then I'll say response res, which is response, and then res of, and then here I can give the property title. Let's see what we get here. So first thing, we'll just try with console.log, right? So have a green console.log. So whenever you want to find something, you can use console.log, or there are a few more tricks, of course. But let's see with console.log right now. So this is your products page, and let's go to console, and you can see this title is actually available here, product list, which is which we are trying to read using the activated route service with data property, as we are passing as part of data right now. So we are saying okay data, and then we are subscribing, because in router everything is a stream, so we have to subscribe to it. So we are saying okay dot subscribe, then we are just getting this data, and I can just go ahead and display some data somewhere. For example, let's say I want to have a title here, right? So I'll just say h1, and I'll declare a property called the title, and let's declare this variable here in our ts file. I'll say this is title, which is type of string, and by default it's blank, and I'll remove the console.log now, and then say this dot title is equals to response.title. And let's format and save it. So now if I move here, you will see product list as a title, which is available here. So this is how you can actually use activated route. And now the next thing which we are going to discuss about is, of course, there are many more uses of activated route, but we are just seeing some small examples. So here next is router service, which is very useful. Let's say if we have a scenario where we want to actually navigate somewhere. You might have seen some right till now. What we have done is we are using something known as router link to navigate within my application. But let's say we have some business rule, right? For example, a simple login page where I have to verify if this particular user is logged in or not, and then I want to redirect the user somewhere else. It means I want to write some TypeScript code where I will verify the users or verify the business rule and then redirect, right? So if you have some requirement like that, you can actually use the route service, also router service, or you can also access the events, which is next. So router events, you can also access, or you can also actually try to catch which event is working right, or getting triggered right now. So as I said, entire router is actually some streams which are actually flowing in your application. So you can also access that. So let's try to do that. So what I will do is I will just use constructor here, and I will use private, and I'll call it as route, and use the router service. As I said, it's a service, so we have to always inject it. And here I'll implement the onInit function, or onInit lifecycle hook, ng onInit. And here I'll say this dot not title, route dot. So you can see there are something known as events dot subscribe, and I'll just do a console.log. So I'll say this is EUT, which is event, and I'll say this is console.log, which is short for event. So let's see what happens when we go ahead and trigger the navigation, right? So you can see these are all the events which are available. So you have a navigation start event, which starts when you navigate. So let me just clear this, and let's click on employee. So you will see all the this navigation events gets called in a sequence. So you have a navigation start where navigation starts, and at the end you have something called navigation end. And the scroll is again something which is available in case you want to capture the scroll event in your routing. So that's also possible. So navigation start, and once navigation end is called, it means you are navigated to another page. So navigation start is where I'm trying to navigate, and then there are a few events which is related to your guards. So you will see you have this guard check start, then you have child activation start, then activation start. These are all related to your guards which is available. So you have resolve start, resolve, and everything is available here. So for every start event, there will be an end event. For example, if this activation starts, there will be another event where activation ends. So you will find something called as activation end here. So this is also all the events, and you can capture, and maybe you, in case you want to write some code based on some events, that's possible. So you can do that. Okay, so this is, let's move on to, okay, and let me just show you one more thing. For example, we spoke about the click event, right, where we want to actually have some business rules and then go ahead and click it. So that's something which we can do. So I'll just add a button here for example, and then on click, I want to say go to maybe employee, right? So if I click on this button, I want to navigate to employee, and you can decide what business rule you want to write. I'll go to component.ts here, go to employee, and I can use the router service here. So I'll say route dot navigate, and then you can mention I want to navigate to employee slash. What happened? Oh, okay. So this is an array because it can take multiple parameter. It actually takes list of actually it takes commands and then it creates the URL. So product, and you will have your employee button here. Now you can see if I click on employee, I'm navigated to employee. This is just for demo. Of course, you can create a nice login page and then write some code to verify. So it will be like here you will have code to verify login, and then once it is login successful, you can just navigate to whatever page you want, right? So this is how you can actually use the router service to do that. Then you have some route guards which are available. So let me just explain you what route guards are. So we have 5 of them. So we have can activate child, can deactivate, then resolve guard, and can load. So let me just tell you what guards means, right? So you can actually relate to guards in real time. So if you remember, whenever you go to shopping mall, you go to bank, there are guards who are available, right, on your on every gates. And what they do, the purpose of having guard is actually to avoid the unauthenticated entries, right? So they will not allow anyone to actually go into the malls. In case they see some threat, they will of course not allow that person to visit the mall, or maybe if they see some threat, they will not allow you to go inside the bank. So similarly in Angular, the route guards is something which is available, where you can verify if I can access this particular route or not. Let's try to configure it for one of the URLs. So right now I can go ahead and say click on product, and you can see I'm able to access this particular product URL. But in case I want to actually restrict the access, I want that only logged in users should be able to actually access this particular route. So what I can do is I can write my own guard. So to create a guard, you can say ngg guard, and I'll say this is auth guard, and I'll just choose all the methods. Okay, so I'll say okay, this is auth guard, and it has a can activate method. So you'll see can activate child, can deactivate, can load. The resolve is missing from here for a purpose, but you can see all these guards are something which we mentioned in our slide. So can activate child, can deactivate, and can load. So what I can do is I can use one of them. So let's say can activate, right? So to configure this particular guard to be used, you can just go to your configuration, route configuration, and you can use can activate, and it is an array. So it is possible that you can have multiple business rules. For example, in case your user is logged in, that will be the first rule, and then you also want to check if this particular user is belongs to particular role, maybe maybe he's admin or a user, something like that. And here I'll say, oh, this is I want to call auth guard here, because right now I have a simple guard or single guard which is available, and I'll mention it here. But in case you have multiple, you can just give a comma and then add more. Let me just import it from dot slash guard, and here I'll say this is auth guard. Okay. Now let's go to employee and let's click on product. Now you can see I'm able to access it, because if I go to my guard, there is no actually code to verify anything, but I can make it false. Okay, let's make it false, and you can see I'm not able to access product now. Click on employee, click on product. I'm not able to actually do anything. So you can see, let's try to focus here. So I'll just cancel everything, click on product. So it says, okay, navigation started, but there was a guard which was checked and it returned false. So you can see activate property, which is important. Should activate is false. And after should activate was false, your navigation got cancelled. So in case you are getting some error, maybe while navigating in your application, and there is some business rules you are not aware of. So what you can simply do is you can actually maybe write some code, something like this, where you can subscribe to all the events, and you will be able to see what are the events which are fired. Or there is one more way. Let me just tell you that. You can just go to this particular property and you have something called as enable tracing, and you can make it true. This is only for your development mode, and it gives you more detail, right? So let me just comment this out, this code. I'm not subscribing to it, but you will be able to see still all the events which are fired in which sequence and what is the value which is available. So it is easy to debug. So enable tracing is something which you can do rather than actually subscribing and seeing what's going on. You can just go ahead and say this is enable tracing true, and do your debugging and then just remove it. Or maybe you can make it conditional based on your environment variable. So if it is def mode, you will be able to see the tracing, otherwise you won't be. So this is how your can activate work. You have to write your code. I mean, maybe if you have some login condition, you have to verify if it is logged in or not. Maybe you can use the service login service to check that. Similarly, let's I mean, I'll not go too much into detail of other guards, but let me just tell you what are those. So can activate child is something which can be used in case you have some dynamic URLs. Let me just quickly give you an example of dynamic URLs. So right now we have products, right? And if I go to products, let me just activate this guard, right? Guard, I'll make it true. I'll make it true. I can access product basically. Otherwise, I won't be able to work. So I've added one more uh, button here, actions, which on click of this, I will navigate to something called product/id. So this is the URL. So what I will do is I will create a product details component first. So I'll just say nggc product slash product hyphen details. Okay, so this is the component which we'll create. And what happened? Product. Okay, I said product, not products. Okay, I'll remove this one. So continue. Okay, so now your products folder contains a product details as well. Let me just remove this product new. It should be imported here. So let me just remove it. And to configure this dynamic URL, what we have to do is we have to go ahead and tell the routing configuration. So I'll go to this path and add one more path, which is now products. And this ID should be actually replaced at runtime. So I can just say colon ID. So this is a placeholder. This is a placeholder which will be replaced once we click on the URL, right? So I'll say component is product details component. So let's see if I can access product. No, component is product. Okay, I have to import. Product details slash product detail component, and this is it. So now we have this URL configured, product/id. So whenever I click on this any URL where which I have configured here, let's go ahead and see that. So what I've done is I am actually using router link. You can see router link and then product comma row.id. I'm using Angular material table to actually display it in this table. Click on this URL product/1. I have to make it products. Right? So see, it works, right? Product/1. In case you want to access this data, you can access it using activated route, the same way as we did for data, right? So this is how you can actually configure your dynamic routes as well. And this is related to, where is that? Okay, so actually, once we have your dynamic routes which is available, you can also display your component as your child component. So let me just do that quickly. So what I can do is, rather than actually navigating it to another page, which we are doing right now. So if you click /id, it is going to a new page. What in case I want to display it on maybe above the list, right? Product list. So this is something which can be achieved. So I'll just go to product HTML. Here I can place another router outlet, and there is one more configuration which I need to change. So I'm just showing you that as well. Okay, so I have placed router outlet here, and the another configuration which we need to change is I can go to I'll just remove this from here, Control X, And here I'll use something known as children property, which takes the array of routes. So similar to what we have configured, I can just say products, and I can just remove the products because it is child, so it will be products and then this particular ID. So let's go ahead and see that in action. And you can see the product detail works, and this is your ID, and everything works, but we are not navigated to another page, we are navigating on the same page. And this is where you can actually use can activate child as well. So I will say, okay, can activate child, and I will say auth guard again, because auth guard has all the methods, so it is like a one-to-one mapping. So can activate, if I trigger can activate, this method will be called. If I call can activate child, this will be called. So this is how it works. And right now we are saying true, so I'll be able to access everything. But let's say I want to restrict the access, I can return false. So I can have some logic, and then I can say, okay, don't let them activate this particular route. So I can go to product and click on this one, and you will be able to see this router navigation cancel event is getting called because we don't have access right now. So I'll just make it true, and then you will be able to call it again. Right. So this is how you can use can activate child. Can deactivate is something which is like you came into a bank, or let's say you came into movie theater, but you cannot leave without permission. Let's say you want to have, let's say you want to show, you have to show the ticket that you had a valid entry into the theater, and now to exit you have to actually show that ticket again. This is something can deactivate can do. What is the real use case? Let's say you have a form, and you came to that particular form, employee form, and then you entered some values, and now you're trying to move away from that particular page. So what will happen is, of course, the unsaved changes will be lost. So what you can do is you can actually use can deactivate event to figure out if there were some changes in your form, and you can display an alert or a model pop-up saying, okay, you have some unsaved changes, and you want to really move away. So you can just offer okay, or maybe save or cancel button, something like that. That's can deactivate. Can load is very specific to your lazy loaded modules. So if you see this employee, so let's go to network tab again. I'll remove and click on employee. So it gets it downloads a separate chunk, right? It downloads a separate chunk. In case you want to actually have some logic before this lazy loaded chunks can be downloaded, you can have some logic here and return true or false. So if I make it false, I won't be able to download those bundles. So let's right now it is already downloaded. So go to product. Let's do this one. Okay, so I have to also plug in this particular guard. So I can say can load and then call the auth guard. Right, so it will trigger the can load event or can load method from that particular guards, and then it won't. Right now, it won't be able to download it. So if I go to employee, I am not able to download it. Okay, so product works, but employee does not. So this is how you can have or use can load event. I'll make it true. Okay. So I think one of the last guard which is left is resolve guard. So resolve guard is more specific to not specific to any events, but it is more specific to your data. So the real use case can be, let's say you have some master data which you want to make available before you move on to any of the routes. For example, let's say you have a complex form where you have a lot of filters, and those filter contain some values where it is a master data, basically, maybe yes, no, or something like that. And you want to make sure that your all the master data, maybe your countries list, your state list, is actually pre-populated, and you don't have to make an API call after actually you move into resolve guard. So I think this is something which you can refer to the Angular docs. It's given. There is a small example which is given already there, and you can actually preload that data. So it's related to data. So if I talk about resolve guard, it's specific to the data, and you can download some data in advance rather than actually moving onto the page and then downloading the data. You can preload the data and make it available, so your navigation will be like smooth. You will not face any delay. Generally what we do is what we get is we get a blank page and then we get the data. You can avoid that using the resolve guard. Yep. So this is it. I mean, we try to cover most of the concept in Angular router, and we try to cover the cards. In case you have any question, or in case you have any question in future as well, if you are watching this after this live stream, so you can always ping me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a message, and we also keep discussing everything in tech on my channel, Tech Talks with Santosh. You can also join the future events. In case you want to join it, you can see all the feature events which is available on my portfolio. So it's like santosh.yadav.dev. You'll be able to go to Tech Talks with Santosh. You can see which are the next events which is coming up. So I have we had this Angular Universal one last I think this Thursday, just yesterday. I mean, and now we have another stream which is coming up on 25th September, which is Angular best practices, and we will have a guest from Armenia whose name is Armin, and it's like 45 minutes live stream where you can ask question. You can also submit question in advance in case you have any, and in case you want to connect with the speakers, you can always connect with them using the social media handle. That's it, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's a great topics actually. About
Thanks a lot.
so I think let's wait for any questions.
And this code is also available on GitHub, so you can always go to GitHub, and this is the. Let me just share the link with Tarun so he can share it. Okay, cool. And this is another feature branch actually, so you may get. Push to. Okay. Okay, so this is the feature branch. So I'll just go to. Let me just share this. So all the code is available here. Cool.
I think there's no questions, Santosh. I think only
Yeah.
one person is left.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. So thank you all, and thank you, Santosh, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So thank you, guys.